Good morning. As a continuation of the physiological factors, we'll see now the temperature. Temperature is also an important factor that affects the growth of the living organism. Based on the medium of the level of the temperature, the growth, the physiological activities are affected. In the minimum temperature, the low level temperature, the activities, physical activities are in the low level. They are in the lowest. The maximum, in the optimum temperature, the activities of physiological activities of the living organism, they are in the maximum level. And in the maximum temperature, the highest temperature, all the physiological activities will stop. Okay. And then Roncker, he is a scientist. Based on the intensity of the temperature, he classified them, the temperature, based on the temperature prevailing in that area. He classified them into 4 types. One is the mesotherms, megatherms, microtherms, and then the ectotherms. Ectotherms, all the mesotherms, microtherms, megatherms, and ectotherms. And in the based on the tolerance, temperature thermal tolerance, they are classified into 2 types. One is eurythermal and stenothermal. Eurythermal means the organism, they can tolerate the wide fluctuations. Fluctuation means changes in the temperature. For example, in some areas, the temperature might rise and it may lower, it may fluctuate, it may change. In that changes, they can adapt. The organism can adapt the changes. They are known as eurythermal. Example, Zostera. Zostera, it's a marine angiosperm, and then Artemisia tridentata. All these plants, they can adapt. They can adapt the changes in the temperature, fluctuations, changes in the temperature. They are known as eurythermal. Eurythermal means the changes in the temperature will not affect the growth of the animals or the plants. And then is stenothermal, which can tolerate only small range of temperature. For example, mango palm, terrace still they can when the temperature is very high or the maximum level, they cannot grow. Only their physiological activities are affected. So that is known as stenothermal. The mango plant is do not and cannot grow in the temperatures like Canada and Germany because the temperature is very high. So they cannot grow in that places. So next we'll move to thermal stratification. It is usually found in the aquatic animals. The aquatic animals means animals that are living in the water. The change in the temperature profile with the increasing depth in the water body is called as thermal stratification. So when you go lower and lower, there is a change in the thermal stratification. The water the top level, the temperature in the top level, that is different in the lower level. So there is a change in the temperature profile when you when the depth is increasing. When you go beyond the water, when you go inside the water more and more, the temperature will change. That is known as thermal stratification. There are three kinds of thermal stratification. One is epilimton, the upper layer, the first warm layer, the first layer of the water that we touch, that is known as the first layer, that is the upper warm layer. And the second one is metalimnion. Metalimnion is the middle layer, and the bottom layer is called as hypolimnion. Based on the water level, the first topmost layer, what we touch, the top, what we see, that is known as the epilimnion, and then metalimnion, and then the that is limnion, and then hypolimnion is the bottom. Upper is the epilimnion, metalimnion, hypolimnion is the bottom layer. That's all about the water layers. The thermal stratification, that is according to the increasing depth, the water temperature of the water will change. Next is temperature based on the zonation. The variation in the latitude, according to the altitude and the latitude, they will also affect the temperature and the vegetation of the earth. That will not affect based on the latitude and but the zonation, the latitudinal and the altitudinal zonation, what they have given is latitude in an angle which ranges from 0 to 90 degree at the poles, and how high a place is located above the sea level, that is called as the altitude. Latitude is the poles, 0 to 90 degree the poles. Altitude is how high the sea level, above the sea level, that is known as the altitude. So these will not affect the temperature and the vegetation of the earth. So effects of temperature, what will happen? What are the effects? Temperature affects the enzymatic actions. What will happen? The enzyme actions are affected. We have seen the enzymatic actions in that the enzymes are most important uh, for the many activities. The enzymes are many more important. So those are affected by the temperature, and the influence of carbon dioxide and oxygen solubility increases respiration and stimulates growth of seedlings. So if the temperature is increases or decreases, it will also affect the carbon dioxide and the oxygen level solubility. So what happens, if the carbon dioxide is more, there will be more respiration by the plants and it will give out more oxygen. And then low temperature with high humidity, and the high humidity means the water content in the air is more, that can spread diseases to plants. But we have seen this now in human beings also. What they have told, during the humidity is high, we are getting more influenza diseases, viral spread diseases. Why that is more? Because they can, the viruses or the disease spreading organism, they can grow in the humid area. So we have seen in the last class also about the lab techniques. What are the procedures to maintain an aseptic environment? So they should be the humidity about 60%, not more than that. If the humidity is more than 60%, then the bacteria will have the tendency to grow, and they will affect and spoil the environment. So the lower the temperature and the high the humidity will cause the disease spreads in the plants. And then varying temperature with moisture distribution of the vegetation types. And next we'll go to the first, we have seen about the light. Of the light, what are the uses of light to the plants, and what are the types of plants that grow? They are heliophytic and sciophytic, light loving plants, and then shade loving plants. And about the temperature we have seen. And now we'll move to water. So what is the need of water? Water is one of the most important climatic factors. It affects the vital process. Yes, without water no animal or no plant can live. That is the essential thing for the growth of the plants. It is believed that even life had originated only in water. Yes, that is true. Only the life has originated only with the water. So of the earth, 70% of the earth is covered by water. Water is available to the plants in three ways: either by the atmospheric moisture, precipitation, and soil water. Or the water that is flowing, the humidity, the precipitation, atmospheric moisture. Yes, we've learned in your previous classes. What is the atmosphere contains? It contains air, gases, and also water vapor in it. Yes, water vapor. So from that the plant can take the water. And then precipitation, the precipitation of the water use, and then also from the soil water. From these things the plant can get the water. What do you mean by evergreen forest? What is the difference? What is the main thing you should know about the evergreen? Evergreen means the plants will remain always green and they will not shed their leaf, whereas deciduous forest will shed their leaves. So they found in the heavy rainfall occurs throughout the year. Then sclerophyllous forest means they are found where the heavy rainfall occurs during the winter and low rainfall during summer. So the distribution of the plants depends upon the availability of the water. If the more water is available, then you can see in different kinds of plants or seed. The total amount of water salinity. Salinity means the amount of the salt content in the water. That is known as salinity. Amount of the salt content in the sodium chloride in the water, that is known as salinity. So when it is in the 0.5 in inland water, the fresh water, and 30 to 35% in the sea water, and then in the lagoons and all, 100% is hypersaline. Lagoons is nothing but the sea water. They are similar to sea water. They are sea water. So based on the tolerance of salinity, the salinity is divided into two types: euryhaline and stenohaline. Euryhaline is an organism which can live in the water with a wide range of salinity. Marine alga and marine angiosperms, animals that are living in the marine, the sea water, they can tolerate the salt content. And then stenohaline, they can withstand only small range of salinity. The plants of estuaries where the water and the river meet, that is known as estuary. Estuary is the place where the water and the river meets. So based on the water level, based on the salinity of the salinity means salt content in the water, they are classified into two types. So one is known as the euryhaline and then the stenohaline. Euryhaline means they can survive the wide range of salinity, marine organisms. And next is the stenohaline, they can withstand with the small range of salinity. Okay, the plants that are seen in the estuaries. That's all about the water content. Now we'll move to examples of tolerance to toxicity. Soya bean, tomato, and then managed to tolerate the presence of cadmium poisoning by cadmium and storing into the few group of the cells, and they prevent cadmium affecting other cells. So rice and Eichhornia, water hyacinth, they can tolerate the cadmium by binding it to their proteins. They can tolerate the cadmium. These plants otherwise they can be used to remove the cadmium from the contaminated soil. This is known as phytoremediation. Phytoremediation means they are removing the poisonous thing. The cadmium is removed by the plants. They are known as phytoremediation. So we have seen about the water. Next thing is the wind. We have seen about the light, water, and then temperature. All these things we have seen. Now we will move to the wind. Next class we will see about the wind. Thank you.